Okay, are you ready this time?
I'm as ready as I'm going to be, but you said there was going to be a baby.
There is a baby. Welcome to a new series of kind of a reimagined first pour, but this time it's first pour with Kim because we decided to do a lot of these standard bourbons of 90 to 100, which Kim can pretty much tolerate, and we're
Most
going to pretty
days.
much, but you know what I was going to name this show "Fun with Dick and Jane." But
I
then
remember
I thought,
Dick and Jane.
you remember
Uh-huh.
Fun with Dick and
Yeah.
Jane? Remember that?
Yeah.
So I'm the Dick, this is the Jane, you're just an extra. Okay, those of you who don't know about Widow Jane, I've got two of my favorites here, the Widow Jane Decadence and the 10-year. Now the Decadence is a finished version of this 10-year, and you can see I don't have a whole lot of it left. So I was contemplating, do I buy another Widow Jane 10-year? It's a little pricey for a 10-year compared to, for example, the McKenna, is it Henry McKenna?
I think it's Henry McKenna.
Henry McKenna. Yeah, I think it is Henry McKenna. It is Henry McKenna. Or the Eagle Rare, which used to be hard to find and now it's pretty easy. So this is a little pricier than that, and I kind of like, do I want to buy another bottle? The next thing I know, they announce this, she's already been drinking, I'm afraid, this Baby Jane, and it's distilled from proprietary heirloom corn. Now, I don't know if they did that to kind of pump up the price, but it's a reasonable price. I'll put on the bottom of the screen what I actually paid for it. I think it was like low 50s, something like that, low to mid 50s. If you go to the Widow Jane website, they basically tell you all about it. I'm not going to read all that, but they kind of pumped it up a little bit. And I think there's a reason for that, because Widow Jane, except for the Decadence, a lot of people have been kind of like, yeah, that's a lot of money for a 10-year out of New York.
Yeah, and it's a plain bottle.
Yeah.
It's really plain.
So I like it, and the Widow Jane Decadence is still my favorite finished bourbon. They just did an outstanding job with that, but that's a whole different price range. I mean, this is like twice the price of this Baby Jane. So I've got good hopes for it. A lot of companies have come out with reasonably priced bourbons lately, ones that typically are on the high end. So I've not tried it. Tonight we're going to do that, do our first pour with Kim, and we're just here to have fun, right?
Sure.
Apparently
we're having dessert, because if you read the back of this thing, it's talking about creamy spice finish that is a rare treat for the most discerning bourbon lover's palate. And I noticed over there it was talking about peach compote.
Yeah, and the finish.
Strawberries and cream taffy, and oh my goodness.
Horchata? Isn't that like
horchata? That's a rum drink, I think.
Yeah,
horchata.
And soft pretzel. That's a lot of flavors to pack in.
That sure is.
$50-something bottle of whiskey. But, and kind of like the other Widow Janes are not a high-proof bourbon. They're all typically pretty low, and this is 91 proof. Mm-hmm. It was batched this year, so don't taste it yet.
Oh.
The premise of the show. Kim doesn't like a lot of bourbons neat. I do. So we give it to her neat. If she doesn't like it neat, she has the option to put it into a cocktail, blend it however she wants to, whatever she wants to, and then rate it. So if she doesn't like it neat, she's going to the cocktail, and then she's going to rate the cocktail, and I'm going to rate it neat. So you actually get the benefit of two scores, the insanity score and the
thumbs up or thumbs
practical
down.
score. She's the practical, I'm the insane one. So insanity score, practical score, and then if you're someone that really doesn't like it neat, it's an affordable bourbon. If you're, let's say you're It doesn't have to be your husband. It could be your wife bringing this home and you don't like it neat and you're doing it in the cocktail. The point being, if you prefer your bourbon in a cocktail, how does this stand up in a cocktail? Is it a good cocktail mixer or overpriced? We're going to find out.
So you should, because you should be able to taste whatever alcohol you're putting in a cocktail, but the cocktail shouldn't overpower the bourbon or the other spirit, and vice versa.
This ain't margaritas here, people. We're not making margaritas. No. I like to taste a bourbon in a cocktail, even a good cocktail. I don't want a crappy bourbon, just, oh, well, put a crappy bourbon in there. Why drink it? If I'm going to make it a cocktail, I want a good bourbon, and I want to taste it in the cocktail. I don't want the cocktail to overpower it. I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm overpowered right now.
I believe it.
So I'm looking at this and going
it's very pale almost, I think. Very yellowy, ambery color.
It's got a fair amount of oil in it because I just poured it a minute ago and I'm looking at these legs and except your legs, I don't really pay attention to legs anymore at my age. But the legs in this bourbon was just like sitting there, just like not disappearing. I thought, well, that's pretty amazing for a sub $60 bourbon that have that kind of nice coating on the glass, and it does have a nice coating. Now, as far as the color goes, I think it's kind of normal. You think it's kind of pale?
Yeah, a little pale.
Yeah.
A little more yellowy than red. Sometimes a lot of them have that browny red kind of color.
And we'll trust her since I'm colorblind. That's why you don't see me doing like, oh, yeah, well, that's a beautiful amber. Honey, it's purple. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm going to tell me what you think of the aroma. Wow. Now I am getting a little, we just opened it, I am getting a little bit of proof off of a 91, which is kind of unusual.
Much.
I get not a very strong traditional molasses brown sugar. I get more of oak.
Put my nose in the glass.
A little bit of spices, but I'm also picking up proof. I pick up some ethanol off of it. You pick that up?
Maybe a little bit.
You don't have a nosing glass like I do. You guys.
I don't like to drink out of those.
Well, cheers. We'll see if she likes it neat. That's not what I expected. It, compared to the 10-year, I would say it holds its own. I mean, I like the 10-year. I was expecting a lot less. I mean, just like, it's going to be, kind of like, what was that bourbon that came out with, Traveler, that was from Chris Stapleton, or he endorsed it. I thought it was like, and of course that's technically not a bourbon, it's a whiskey.
Okay, I've got to interrupt you. I need another shot glass. Do you have another one over there?
It's always behind you over behind the towel. Other side.
I'm going to have to get up.
Other side. What happened?
I want to compare it to the 10-year because I'm not too fond of it so far.
Oh, okay. You're not going to be fond of this one either.
Just a splash. Yeah.
They smell a lot alike. They do. I don't pick up a lot of difference. These bottles are the hardest thing to close. Yeah, twist them. Yeah, this bottle's actually a little fancier looking than the 10-year. I was kind of surprised that a little squattier, but rib top. Kind of a wood topper like the other one, but it says baby on the top. Baby Jane.
So is this supposed to be aged?
Well, they're all aged. I don't know if it's age stated. Typically, if it's not age stated, it's a minimum of 4 years. If it's less than 4 years, it typically has an age statement. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe I'm right on that. Doesn't say, so no age statement, so we can assume
It's younger than older.
probably 4 to 5 years, where this is definitely a 10-year bourbon, and so was the Decadence a 10-year. So I'm
Are we
not
sure they're not the same thing?
unless someone's playing tricks with my mind, which ain't hard to do. No, they're not the same thing. This is half, should be half the age at least of this one.
Mm.
Even though I drank that, I was not a huge fan. I would say I'm not a huge fan. I thought it was overpriced for what I was getting. The Decadence, it is what it is. There's nothing else there like it. I'm willing to pay the extreme price. This one, for typically I see it in the mid to high 70s. I'm going like, I can buy an Eagle Rare for around 45 a lot of places, sometimes cheaper. Why would I pay $30 more for the Widow Jane?
We're going to the cocktail because I'm not a fan.
Okay.
And all my ice melted together. See what happens.
I will tell you why she's making all that racket.
Okay, that's all.
It does taste younger than either of these, obviously.
Like
I'm
rock
not-
good.
I'm getting a little bit of fruit, a little bit of dark fruit. It's
Sorry.
not very sweet.
It's not very sweet at all.
It's got some of those traditional brown sugar kind of notes, but I'm also getting a little of a tannic taste to it, a little bit of bitterness. I don't know if it's the rye, could be the rye spice, but I'm getting more leather and oak than I normally like, and that is transferring into the finish. I basically ended up with leather and oak and a little bit of spice. Not a fan of the finish at all. I'm like, I want to drink some more because the finish is not great. The palate, it's okay. I think for its price, it's probably priced about right from Widow Jane, from what you normally get. Would I drink it? I would. But I think it might also, at this price, make a really good cocktail, a really good old-fashioned. Because my old-fashions tend to be sweeter than most people's old-fashions because of what I add to it. So if I add a bourbon that is already sweet, then it gets sickly sweet. So for me, this would be could make a good old-fashioned. So what did you mix it with?
I just put ginger ale in here, and I want to say it's probably just a tad more than half this can, so about 3.5 ounces.
Okay.
And I added just a little bit more, so probably a full shot.
Yeah, well, and I measured it. You had exactly 1 ounce in
So
your
by the
shot
time I
glass.
sipped a little, I put just a little more. So
Okay.
that's probably just right at an ounce. So 1 to 4, 1 to 3.5, something like that. Now I can still taste it, but I just taste the flavor. I don't get all that alcohol-y ethanol going with it.
Now for you, or for Kim, I think she's going to judge it against what she normally drinks in a cocktail in this proof range, which would be the Woodford Reserve or the Buffalo Trace.
Or what was that we had yesterday?
That was a Woodford.
No, that was a Weller.
Yesterday we had a Weller Reserve. She'd never tasted it neat before, and you actually liked it.
I did, yeah.
Because Weller Reserve is a very mild wheated bourbon. There's nothing spicy about it. It's got a very smooth taste to it. A lot of people love it. I've kind of trained my palate to look for more in a wheated bourbon, so to me it's kind of like on the low end of the scale as far as what I like in a wheated bourbon. I actually like more flavor, more spice. But if you're starting out in bourbons and you don't like rye spice, Weller's Special Reserve, if you can find it, not at an inflated price, Weller's Special Reserve is not a bad way to get into the wheated bourbon world. It's just a matter of what you're paying for it. But it's a fine wheated bourbon.
It was really good.
Don't let anyone tell you differently. There's nothing wrong with Weller's Special Reserve. There's just a lot of other wheated bourbons out there that I and others think are better. But it's a fine bourbon. Just like Buffalo Trace is a fine bourbon for the money.
Yeah.
So the question you become to me that I give to you is, would you pay extra for this over the Buffalo Trace or the Woodford? She would not.
No, I'm not that fond of it.
Oh, so that kind of tells you where her scoring's going, doesn't it?
It's not awful. I've definitely had awful. There was one time I went in and ordered a Buffalo Trace and ginger ale, and they brought me, what was that, a Jim Beam and 7-Up, and that was awful. That was just absolutely awful.
Well,
the waitress had to come back and take it back.
It was probably just, Jim Beam white label.
Yeah.
And, I could...
And that whatever that stuff is that they call soda that comes out of that dispenser thing, it's just bubbly water,
Yeah,
I
well,
think.
the trick is, not get any kind of mixer out of one of those fountain soda things behind the bar.
And, that's one thing that I've always struggled with is going into a restaurant or a bar and knowing what to order. Because let's say you walked in here, what are you going to order? If you're not familiar with these and know what you really like, you just maybe recognize the name or you recognize the bottle, you're not going to know what it tastes like. And then when you find a bourbon that you like, chances are they're not going to have it because there's so many. So what do you get? Are you comparing them now?
I was listening to you. There's a lot of similarities in taste. If you told me that this is just, they took this out before it got to here, I would tell you I would believe it.
I would believe it too.
It is.
There's a little bit of difference, but not much.
It's sharper. You definitely taste it's young tasting. It's sharp. You got a little bit of an ethanol bite to it. It's not objectionable, but it's there, and it gives you a little more bitterness than the 10. The 10-year is mellower. It tastes more mature. You don't have that bite with it.
It's got a little bit more flavor, just a smidgen. I don't know what flavor it is, but it's got just a little bit more. It's that extra year in the barrel. Or something.
And I say it's the char. You got a little bit more char in this because it's obviously been in the barrel a lot longer, and that charcoal in there has mellowed it, is stripped some of the ethanol flavor out of it. So at $50-something, and like I said, I'll put the price on the bottom of the screen.
I wouldn't buy it for me.
I would tell you it's like this. It's overpriced. I like it, but I think I probably would like it better in old fashioned. It's probably what I'm going to use it for. 'Cause I have so many good bourbons that drink neat. In fact, there's see if you can grab that Jim Beam 7 behind you.
I don't want to knock anything off.
And let me tell you, this Jim Beam Black 7 at around the low 30s, and some people have gotten it below 30 or around 30, is a better bourbon than this Baby Jane. And it's got a screw top. What? It's funny to watch her pull it up. Oh, that's a screw top. But now it does have a Jim Beam profile, which means it's nuttier. For those that know what I'm talking about, Jim Beam.
I'm attracted to nuts.
Yeah.
Ooh, I can actually smell that.
You really? Well, go ahead and take
The
a...
peanut.
Knock it back.
Well, there's like, listen, even if I knocked it back, it wouldn't make any difference. I think I'd like that straight better than that. Not crazy about it, but.
Well, it's 90 proof, so it's just around the same amount. But to me, this is, and this is a 7-year. We know that this is probably 4 to 5. So more age, more time in the barrel, better flavor, lower price. What more could you want? It's like going to Aldi's for groceries.
I went there today.
So this is the Aldi's of bourbon. We'll put that over here.
We're either going to have less bourbon or more Aldi's.
I go for more Aldi's, never less bourbon. So I'm gonna do my score first. If you watched my show, give me 5. Its score is 1 to 5 stars, 1 being the lowest, and typically it's got to be 3.5 stars for me to want to ever buy it again. What am I giving this bourbon? 3 stars. It is not a repeat buy for me. I will use it. I won't let it go to waste, but it'll probably be a nice cocktail bourbon. I've got a couple bourbons that I really like to make old fashions out of, and I think this would make an excellent old fashioned. But for the money, there's a lot of bourbons I like that make excellent old fashions that are probably $20 cheaper. So I'm saying don't spend your money. What do you say?
I'm saying don't spend your money either. I don't care for it. It's like I said, it's not awful. It might be your cup of tea, so to speak, but it's bitter. It's very ethanol-y. It doesn't have, I don't think it has any complexity of flavor.
No, it's pretty simple.
It's not sweet at all, which is a problem for me because I do like things sweet. And even how I have this mix now, I put like 2 little dashes of the grenadine in there, is still not really sweet enough that I enjoy it. I'll drink it. It doesn't taste bad the way it is right now, but I'm not enjoying it. If I were paying for this, I would definitely drink it. I may not finish this.
Yeah, I'm the same way. If someone gave this to me, I would drink it neat over ice or in a cocktail. Mm-hmm. I just wouldn't ask for another one.
No.
I said, like, you got something else?
Yeah. What else you got back there?
Yeah. So if you're a Widow Jane lover, and if you watch the show, I'm a Widow Jane fan. I'm not going to be buying another 10-year just because I have so many good bourbons in the $50 to $60 range that I like better than a $70+ The only one I'm going to continue to buy until the cows come home is the Decadence, because it's a special bourbon for me. It opened my eyes up into the world of finished bourbons. It's still my all-time favorite. That could change one day, but look, she wants to see some of the Decadence. So we're going to finish it off. Finish off this show with the Decadence.
Just a splash. Because there's a difference between tasting and drinking.
Get rid of that stuff.
Don't put it in my plants now. What's the proof on this one?
I think it's around 91. Yeah, 91.
I like that the best of the 3.
Oh, that smells good. Oh, that's rich. That is so rich.
Yeah, you can definitely taste a difference.
Mm.
That's got more flavor. It's got less ethanol.
The only difference that I know of is they take this and there's a company called Crown Maple. They're apparently a high-end maple syrup company. And they take their old barrels and they put this 10-year, I don't know for how long in it, but unlike other maple finished bourbons, which taste like maple syrup, this one is perfect. I mean, it's like bourbon with a hint of maple. Pancakes and syrup, baby. Pancakes and syrup. So if you like a good finish, a little bit on the sweet side, I guarantee you, you will not be disappointed in the decadence. I've to yet find anybody that liked finished bourbons that didn't like the decadence. Now, if you don't like a finished bourbon, don't waste your money. But if you like a good finished bourbon and you can find it for under 125, I think it's a must-have on your bar. This one, not so much.
Not so much.
So
I'm disappointed.
If you buy it, mix it.
Mix it.
Mix it.
Mix it.
Mix it. So we hope you like this video. We'll comment and share and come back for a next time. Come back for another. What do we call this again?
I don't know.
First pour with Kim. More like fun with Dick and Jane, right? See you next time. Cheers.
Cheers.